Hello, sweet teams. Welcome to today's vlog on the JB Fashion Style. So, in today's tutorial video, we're going to be making our blazer jacket with this beautiful Ankara fabric. So, first of all, I'd already gone ahead to cut out a 1 yard of my Ankara fabric, which I'll be using to cut the back of our blazer jacket. So what I'm trying to do here is to actually get the length of the blazer jacket, which is 33 inches long. So I've gone ahead to cut out the exact size I'll be needing for our blazer jacket, the back side of it. So the very first measurement I'm taking here is the shoulder line. So next will be the bust line, which would be taking our bust circumference from. So after the bust line, I'll be going over to take my waistline. So that's what you see me taking right now. That's the waistline. So next to the waistline measurement will be our hip line measurement. So we've taken our shoulder line, bust line, waistline, and now we're taking our hip line measurement. So now, above the bust line measurement, I'm taking our chest line measurement, which is about 2 inches above the bust line. So next, I'm taking my shoulder to shoulder measurement, which was 16. So I divided it by 2, gave me 8. So the next line I'm taking there is the armhole. I'm trying to get measurement for the armhole. So my bust circumference, I divided into 4 to give me 10 inches, and then I added 2 inches to it. So that's the indication you saw me make on the chest line measurement. And then I made in a sort of a mark on the line, the vertical line there, so as to be able to draw my armhole curve. So the neck of this back piece is 3 inches into 2, and then I also remove 1 inch from the shoulder to get my slope on that shoulder there. So the next measurement I'll be taking now, it will be on the waist, where I get to remove 1 inch first of all before taking my dart measurement. So my dart is actually 4 inches. So I'm indicating my dart on the waistline, the hip line, the chest line, and also on the bust line. So to continue my measurement on that waistline now, I'll be adding the 1 inch I had removed initially, and then I'll be taking my waist measurement alongside the 2 extra inch seam allowances. So please take note of that. So for my hip measurement, it's 10.5 inches, which is 42 inches divided into 4. So I added extra 2-inch allowance. Now I'll just connect the lines together from the armhole, which is the chest line, to the hip line, and then to the length of the jacket. So at this point, I'm trying to cut off that 1 inch measurement I took from the waist. So I'm connecting it to the hip line, and then I'll take it up into the middle of the back above the chest line. So please take note of that. For the back, you take it above the chest line, and then I'm now trying to cut my dart. So for that waistline, I simply am taking 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart, and then I'll connect it to the hip line as you see me do right now. And then also I'll be connecting it to the chest line. So now we are partially done cutting our lining and our outer fabric for the back of our blazer jacket. So now we'll be drafting the front fabric. So I'll be using partially our back fabric to get the pattern for our front. Okay, so please take note of this. Our shoulder line would not be starting from the top of our 1 yard fabric. As you can see, I left about 8 inches of the fabric. We are not going to cut it out. We're going to be needing it for our collar. So please ensure that the fabric you'll be using for the front of your blazer jacket would have about 8 inches extra space at the top of the shoulder. So what I'm simply doing right now is indicating the lines, which is our chest line, bust line, waistline, hip line, and the base of our jacket. So I simply want to get those basic measurements before taking the actual measurements for the front fabric. So I'm simply drawing the chest line, bust line now, waist line, and then our hip line. So that was the reason why I simply used the back. So now for the front neckline, we'll be taking 3 inches into 3 inches. So for the back, it was 3 inches into 2 inches. So for this front, we're taking 3 inches into 3 inches. So that is what you see me do right now. And then I simply am trying to draw my curve. So next, I'll be getting the armhole measurement. So the indication there is actually at the middle of that line. So I've drawn out my armhole curve. Then I'll be taking the measurement. Please ensure to take your measurement before drawing your curve. So it's because I already know the technique, that's why I didn't bother to take the measurement. So please take your measurement. For me, my bust circumference is 40, so I divide by 4 and add extra 2-inch allowance to it. So now I'm simply indicating the dots on the bust line, waistline, and the hip line. For the front, please take note, your indication, your dots do not start from the chest line. So for the front, it doesn't start from the chest line. It starts from the bust line. So I've also gone ahead to indicate the 1/2 inch on both sides of my dart on the waistline. And then I simply connect it to the bust line. And now you see me connecting it to the hip line. It's a very simple technique. So next, I'll be drafting my lapel. So I'm taking my line from the top of the shoulder, from the neck into my waistline. So you draw your line from your neck to your waist point, which is what I did there. So next, I'm adding my extra 1-inch seam allowance. Okay, so that will be taken all through from the neckline to the base of the jacket. Alright, so I'm simply connecting all the dots together for my extra 1 inch seam allowances. So next, in order for my lapel to be a bit broad or wide, I added an additional 1.5 inch to it because I wanted it to be a bit wide, and then I connected it to the waist point. So in order for me to be able to cut the collar properly, I would be taking the measurement of the collar of the back, of the neck of the back, sorry. So that's what you see me there. And so I came up with 3.5 inches. So I'll be using that to take my measurement now on this fabric. So as you can see me there, taking the length above the shoulder there, please ensure it's a bit slope, it's not straight as you can see. So that's about 3.5 inches. So I went on ahead to add half an inch on the side. So the additional line you see there is half an inch, and then I'll be taking the length of the collar, which is about 4 inches long. So I'll be connecting it to the neckline of the front. Please take note of that little curve I made there. I went above the neckline by half an inch before drawing the straight line from the top. So please take note of that. So at this point, I am done with taking the basic measurements for the front piece. So what I'm simply doing there is to draw the line from the shoulder to enable me cut out the darts in between. So please also indicate that while you do your cutting. And I also like to notify us, please be careful when cutting out your patterns because the drawings are a bit much, so you might make the mistake of actually cutting out the side that you need. So please be very careful when cutting out your pattern. So for some persons, that's why they prefer to draft on pattern papers first. So now I'm simply cutting out my patterns. I want to actually cut away that in between. So my cutting started from the bottom of my fabric to the very top. So not to worry, we'll be joining the fabric together. So I've successfully removed the darts in between. So I'll be doing the same for the back piece. So now we'll be ending today's tutorial video here. So in my next video, I'll be showing us how I joined my fabrics or my patterns that I had cut out on my fabric.